And this is honestly something every reseller should know anyway. It's something you should want to know. It's the only way that you'll actually know your business inside and out. Hey, it's Don. Today let's talk a little bit about your accounting aspect for your business. Now, GoDaddy is discontinuing their accounting service. It was cheap, it was reasonable from what I see. A lot of people used it and they counted on that to do their tax purposes. You don't have to use a service at all. You don't have to pay someone to do your totals. If you're going to have to use an accountant in the first place, you should, either way you go, you should want to use an accountant, because that way it is straight, correct, and you don't have to worry about you messing up something. The numbers, though, you can get directly downloaded from eBay through a CSV file and just do them through Microsoft Excel, or you can use free Google Docs for free. You don't have to mess with anything else. Google Docs is free for those who already put your stuff into a third party such as GoDaddy. Now, I know there's other channels already promoting, hey, use this service, use that service, because they get a commission off of it. If it's some business you've never heard of, I really honestly wouldn't recommend using it, even if it says it does all this stuff. And I say that because they could be gone in a year and a half. They could be gone in 6 months. If it's a new startup, I don't hop on the bandwagon to any of them, especially with putting my personal information into it, like banking and all that stuff. I would never, ever, ever recommend doing that. It's just the safest way to do it. Keep everything in-house. Now, I don't do it by hand, but there are some people who actually still write it down in a book by hand. If you want to get all your data together, literally just download the forms from eBay, pop them into an Excel spreadsheet, and then you can total all your columns up one by one so you can get your total for anything you need month by month, which is how you would file anyway. If you're paying taxes ahead of time because you're self-employed so you don't get dinged at the end of the year, you're paying that quarterly. Now, I'm not an accountant, so I honestly, again, would recommend you talking to one. I say it all the time. We talked to one for free for 30 minutes when we first got into this. We've had accountants for years, and I honestly would swear by their use. Got to pick the right one and all that, but it's so much easier just to use a breakdown from an Excel spreadsheet and total up the numbers. Again, you can just download them all from eBay. So everything that you pull to put into your, whether you're using Excel, whether you're using Google Docs, or one of the other ones that's out there that will do the exact same thing, all the numbers come straight from eBay. It's not going through a third-party app like GoDaddy or something like that, where it could have some issues or something might not import correctly. When you download them from eBay, I have never had one that did not match up with my numbers. If it's on the report, it's in your numbers automatically. If it's not on the report, it's not in your numbers with eBay. I have not seen that ever with that. So their download forms have been straight on for us. We found some issues, obviously, in the statements where they've overcharged us or something in that aspect once or twice in the recent time frame. But other than that, the forms you download are solid and they work just fine. Everything that you need, all of your fees paid to eBay, your shipping costs, everything goes through eBay these days, so everything can be downloaded very quickly, very easily, and be done with. If you're using a third party, you're not paying as much attention to your numbers, to what sells. You're not looking at everything. You're just using them to calculate all the totals. By looking at them, by seeing them, by sorting through them, you're going to know more about your business. You will do better at it because you'll be more invested into it. You don't need to ask somebody else, what's my total, where do I stand, like going to the accountant with your paperwork, because you'll know those numbers if you do it through Excel or a spreadsheet like that. You'll have calculated them yourself, so you'll realize how much percentage of fees you're paying for this type of item or that type of item. You'll know the ins and outs of your business far better than someone who just has a service that calculates everything for them. Again, I know it takes some time, but this is one of those areas where you should always take the time. Knowing your finances is always the number one thing you should always have locked in your head. Knowing the amount of expenses you have, knowing how much you're spending on shipping a week, a month, or whatever the case may be. Those are all numbers, all important factors that will help you do better. There's just no way around it. That is literally how you're going to get better at this, how you're going to see this more as a business as opposed to just throwing something up and making a few sales and I'm getting money in. If you want to have a business and you want to continue to grow it, you want to continue to have it, supply and provide for your family, you've got to know it inside and out. You got to know where everything goes. And even if you're using a service like that, there's going to be a bunch of things that aren't covered or that you may not be putting in. And if you're putting them in there in the first place, you could make mistakes just as easily putting in information as anything else. If you purchase boxes or shipping supplies, administration expenses like a brand new camera to take photos, or if you do it with a phone, a new phone to take photos, that's all expenses. You have expenses for the electricity you use, even if it's in your own house. You have expenses for the rent you pay if part of your facility you live in and part of your facility you actually run a business in. All of that has to be figured in. So if you're not using the app or a third party to do all that, you still have to put it all together somewhere. And if you're just letting the accountant do it and he comes up and gives you the numbers, what if your accountant is wrong somewhere? You don't know the numbers. If you have to ask somebody else where you stand, how much are your taxes going to be, you're out of the picture to some extent. Somebody else knows more about how your business is going than you do. When you see the numbers, you can realize whether you're in the hole a lot easier, whether you're out of the hole, whether you're making a profit, whether you're getting better at it. Last month, I spent 20% of my revenue on fees, COGS, and the whole works. This month, I only spent 19%. You're going to know those numbers. You're going to know when your business is getting better. And that's one of the main reasons I would recommend doing it yourself. There's a lot of easy ways to do it. All you're doing is getting the totals from eBay. Everything is in there other than your COGS, your cost of goods. So you just throw that on an Excel spreadsheet again, or a Google Docs, or any of the other ones, and off you go. Now, I know there's a lot of people that may not want to do that. You're worried about messing something up, or the math, or whatever the case may be, but in all honesty, it's the best route to go because you're more invested in it. It doesn't take very long either. An hour or two a week, if you do it on a weekly basis, is all it would take to get everything straight week by week by week. So at the end of the year, everything is straight. You can just hand a file. You can just hand it all over to your accountant. You can have all your receipts, everything all stacked up, everything correctly ordered. I mean, it's easy as can be if you set yourself up. And you're not using GoDaddy. You're not using some other service that could close down tomorrow. That's the point. If you're just going to hop on to another third party, they could go under just as easily as GoDaddy dropped you. That's my honest recommendation. I honestly and sincerely feel that I have done far better by knowing my numbers, by knowing how it all works, by knowing my expenses in every little aspect. I know where every dime went in my business. You don't necessarily have to know every dime, but it would be helpful to you to understand all of it in your head, to be able to just instantly know where you stand in reselling. Obviously, you want to make a profit. If you're not doing it right, or you're not keeping track, or you don't know where you're deficient in, or don't really understand how to find out where you're deficient in, again, that could be a problem. Doing the numbers will solve that for most people. But anyway, that's what I have for you today. Hopefully that gave you some ideas, some thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button down below. You can also hit the bell icon to be notified if I post new content or go live. Subscribe and tell all your friends.
Introducing the G.I. Joe Space-O-Matic. Space-O-Matic, the futuristic space vehicle you program yourself to make it go where you want, do what you want. Program it to lift, or to scoop, or use the magnetic pickup.
Watch this. Way to go, Joe.
G.I. Joe Space-O-Matic from Hasbro.